Okay, we're back live. I thank the community for their patience, but we've just dealt with a matter that has contractual and commercial relationships. So we're now back at, do we need to move into open council? We do, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we now need a motion to move back into open. No,
No,
we've done that, sorry. Now we need to move the recommendation associated with the discussion. Councillor Sanderson and Councillor Miles as seconder. Now, the recommendation is on page, yep, I've gone back one too far, on page 122. So that's what we're voting on now. There's a mover and a seconder. Any discussion before we put the motion? No, I now put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that unanimous. We now move back to the business paper proper, and I understand Councillor Collins wishes to be excused. So if you need to leave, thank you for your contribution this evening. We now move back to, where were we, 4.2. So we go to the drone issue, I think, which is on page 101, draft the drone policy. As a mover, Councillor Sanderson, seconded Councillor Miles. Or is there a question, Councillor Sanderson?
Two questions.
Or there's questions, are there? Councillor Sanderson, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to move it just with an amendment that point two just simply read that the report be brought back to council following the conclusion of the exhibition period.
Okay, so deleting the last sentence.
Deleting the opening clause.
Oh, okay, yes.
And the final sentence. So the point two just says that a report be brought back to council following the conclusion of the exhibition period.
Okay, is there a seconder to that? Councillor Miles, do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Sanderson?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think it's quite straightforward. We have to have a policy for drone use. I've experienced this thing at the university. We've gone to a lot of trouble. There's been a lot of debate over it. But the reason I asked for that amendment is that it's normal process for matters like this to come back for council, not subject to whether there's consultation or not. So I wouldn't like to start a precedent like that. I think it should always come back to council.
Okay, there's Councillor Miles who wishes to speak.
Just a question through you, Mr. Mayor.
Question, yes.
Yes. So this policy, as I read it, only really pertains to council using drones rather than the public using drones.
That's right.
Yeah. So are we just guided by the Civil Aviation Safety Authority in they deal with personal drone use, or?
Yes, General
Manager,
Manager,
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. And the Director of Development also liaised with CASA in preparing the draft drone policy as well for council's use.
The only thing that sort of worries me a little about the policy as it reads is that is the enforcement of illegal something illegal happening that we'd have to action. And does that we're not intending to use drones to surveil building works or something like that, are we?
General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no. Largely around, it may be around events where we'd like to capture some footage of large-scale events, or the foreshore where it's not accessible by road, to look at seawalls and the status of the foreshore. But they would be the main uses envisaged at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I refrained from making any joke about a drone policy at council too.
Okay. Any further discussion, Councillor McLaughlin?
Oh, sorry, I've just picked up just a typo actually, sorry, just as I was having another look at it. Item on page 107, part 3, discovery of potential misconduct.
Discovers.
I think it says potential.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
I
Just
see that.
sorry. I didn't pick it up before. And
Okay, we can correct that for you. No
And
worries.
sorry, just out of the conversation, what time are we due to finish tonight?
We have a curfew of 9:30 and then.
Oh,
there's
9:30,
30
sorry.
minutes,
Okay, just
an
double checking. I
extension
thought
of
it was
30 minutes if required by council vote. Okay, so we have a motion before us. Any further discussion? If not, put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. We now move on to the next item, which I'll bring council's attention to a replacement paper that was circulated to councillors, which from my knowledge should be in your presence, and it basically adds a couple of extra staff members that have now come back from leave and have been incorporated in it. So that's the only change. Is that correct, General?
That's correct.
That's right.
me.
Councillor Miles, you wish to move the motion? Yep. Is there a seconder? Councillor McLaughlin, is there any debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare that unanimous. We now move to the next item, which is item 4.5, and that relates to our financial position report. Councillor Miles, he's moved the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor McLaughlin. Any debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. We now move to the next item on the business paper, which is 4.6, which is review of delegation for DCU matters. There's a recommendation on page 117. Councillor Miles.
Moving motion.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Crassoy. Is there any debate?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Miles, do you wish to speak to your motion, please?
I'll reserve till right on the side.
Okay. Councillor Sanderson, you wish to speak, I assume, against?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm very concerned about this report. I don't see any reason for it whatsoever. I mean, what we should be availing our residents of is the opportunity to have submissions at all stages. The report speaks about having the opportunity either at DCU or at a more informal level with staff. I think it's important that in all of these cases where the objections aren't so great that it does go to the local planning panel, that people have the opportunity to make submissions both to staff to get their point across, also to make the point at a DCU meeting. It's something I've experienced as an objective long before I was a member of council, and it does give an opportunity for people to get their points across, for there to be some consideration of the matters involved, and I think it's a very important process, and I'm sure, Mr. Mayor, yourself, that you would have seen this process operate in your earlier times as Mayor, and seen the improvement and outcomes that the DCU process brings about. At the end of the day, we're not talking about a huge number. Yes, there's been an increase. I mean, at the worst case, what we could do is perhaps exempt if it was a single objection, but I think the process should stand as it presently is.
Thank you. Is there any speakers for the motion? Councillor McLaughlin, I think you're...
perhaps just a question through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
to the General Manager, to the Director of Development Control, who may... can you just clarify why we're doing this and the reasoning behind it? I understand that it's taking up an enormous amount of your time. Is that operationally?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I may start and then I'll hand over to the Director. Over the last probably 9 months, we've introduced e-planning, and we've recently introduced the DA tracking system on our website. We're also trying to improve our determination times as well with our development applications, and we do receive requests or concerns from residents about time delays in receiving an outcome of their application. I think with the e-planning and the DA tracking system, that provides a lot more information on our website than has been previously available. And also by lifting the number of objections. So the proposal is to still have DCU. Any DAs with 4 or more objections would come to a formal development control unit meeting. Anything below that, where there might be 1 objector or 2, within the report itself, you'll note that the majority of DAs that do go to the DCU or have gone to the DCU over the last 12 months only had 1 objection and would usually be a neighbour. And what we would be proposing to do is that the planner who is assessing that application would meet with the applicant and the objector and try to work through an outcome and on a more personalised level rather than going through a formal meeting. There are benefits in terms of time and administration, because each of those reports is in essence like a council report. They're produced, they're distributed, and it does add a layer of time and as well. But the primary reason is really we can offer a more personalised approach and also improve our determination times as well, where there are only 1 or 2 objectors, and we can work with them. Director, would you like to add to that? No.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Thank you very much. That's exactly what it is.
So just to clarify, those objectors will still have an opportunity to meet with council staff.
Yes.
And to work through their issues. They just won't be going to a formal DCU meeting.
That's correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, we have a mover. Was that you, Councillor Miles? Yep. Is there a seconder? Councillor Crasoy? No? No. Yes, Councillor Crasoy. Okay. Any further discussion? I'd like to add a comment to clarify the way I'm voting in relation to this matter. I think over several years now, there's been enormous erosion of transparency in the planning process and the ability of the community to have their voice heard in that process. That's happened through complying development, that's happened through the local planning panel process, taking the issue out of their elected representatives. I feel that it's important for our community, even if there's 1 objector, for them to feel as though they've been heard and go through a process that allows them to be heard and their concerns addressed in a transparent way, which includes documentation. I can't see how you could arrive at just 4 applicants. Why is it not 3? Why is it not 5? I think it's important from where I sit in terms of maintaining transparency and engagement with the community and the planning environment that we should maintain the status quo where the residents do have a formal process, even if there's only 1, to be heard and have that documented, have that considered. And so that's my view in relation to the matter, and that's why I won't be supporting the motion. Is there any further discussion for? Against? Right reply, Councillor Miles.
I don't think it's necessary for the reasons outlined by the General Manager.
Okay. I now put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. We now move on to item, we've done 4.7, so we skip over to 4.8, which is the applications determined by the Development Control Unit. Is there a mover of the motion, of the recommendation? Councillor McLaughlin, is there a seconder? Councillor Sanderson, is there any debate? Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. And now we move on to 4.10, which is the applications determined by the local planning panel. Is there a mover of the recommendation?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think you missed 4.9.
Did I really? They all look alike. Under delegated authority.
Which
Yes,
I'm happy to
I
move.
apologise for that. You're correct. Is there a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Miles? Is there a seconder? Councillor Crassoy? Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare it carried unanimously. We now move on to 4.10. Thank you, Councillor Miles. And these are the matters that were determined by the local planning panel. There's a recommendation to receive and note. Is that moved? Councillor Miles, is there a seconder? Councillor McLaughlin. Is there any discussion, debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried unanimously. We now move on to 4.11, which is the minutes of the Bushland Management Advisory Committee, and there's a recommendation to receive and note. Is there a mover to that? If not, I'll move it as the chair of that panel, advisory committee. And there's a seconder, Councillor Sanderson. Is there any discussion, comment? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried. We now move on to the minutes of the Conservation Advisory Panel at 4.12. And it's the meeting of the 19th of August that's been referred to. And there's a recommendation to receive and note the report. Is there a mover of that? Councillor Sanderson, is there a seconder to that? Councillor McLaughlin. Is there any questions, comments or debate? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Declare it carried unanimously. That brings us to the end of the business paper for the meeting. Questions without notice. Oh, first of all, is there any general business that we haven't already flagged?
Only congratulations on your first meeting, Mayor Williams.
Oh, thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. It has stumbled on a few points, but we'll get that refined as we go forward.
Well
So,
done. Well
thank you for that. Appreciate that. So questions without notice, I guess unless you want to make them verbally, it's probably best to submit them this evening electronically or handwritten tomorrow morning so they can be incorporated within the business paper. Otherwise, thank you for your input tonight. I believe we've dealt with some fairly important issues, and there's now processes in train to ensure that those issues are aired within the community, and I look forward to the responses to those. So again, thank you for your time this evening, and I declare the meeting closed at 9:50.